Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Quantum Compass. My name is Davyd Farrell. I'm one of your co-hosts for this show, and I'm joined by my beautiful partner,
Alvaran.
And today we're going to be entering into episode number 5, where we'll be looking at the red magnetic Earth. But before we get to that, as in the style of the previous show, just want to give a quick injury update. I am sat here now, post-surgery in downtown Guadalajara. My feet are resting nicely here on the sofa, and they're healing well. They are healing well. The doctor has been by several times and looked at the wounds, cleaned the bandages, and I think actually he's pretty impressed at the speed of the healing. Which of course is not to get ahead of myself. I do joke with him that I have been running around the park each morning, which of course is not at all anything that's going to be happening soon. But the most important thing is that any possible complications that could have happened with what was a fairly complex piece of surgery have not happened. The amount of healing that my body is already engaging with, in addition to some wonderful healing from our tribe members and working with lots of quantum principles, means that everything is healing actually quite nicely. It is a little tricky sometimes. I have to remember that I'm not allowed to walk, and as I've reduced the levels of medications, particularly painkillers, I start to feel like I'm more normal, and the tendency to jump up and nip to the toilet or grab a cuppa or something is something I have to do a mental piece of gymnastics with. But really and truly just wanted to say thank you everybody again for all of the healing, all of the love, all of the support, all of the donations, all of which has been very much needed and appreciated. And we will be here a little longer in Guadalajara until close to the end of the month. There's still a few things that have to happen, stitches need to come out, etc. And then we'll be returning back to our wonderful home in the mountains of Michoacan. So that's it really on that side. Just wanted to bring everybody up to speed and say again a huge level of thanks. And hopefully if you watched the last episode, you got the updates then, but also you managed to catch the episode itself, because really and truly what is remarkable is that I'm working with the healing energy of these wave spells. And today Bella is going to introduce to you the one that is going to start on the 26th of March. And if I've got my numbers correct, Bella is going to run through until April the 7th, correct?
That's right, yes. We're going from the 26th of March till the 7th of April with the next wave spell. I'm just going to try to share my screen now. Should be good.
Alrighty.
Well, so we've just gone through quite the roller coaster for the last wave spell. Even the last 2 previous wave spells has been the roller coaster, not only for the world, but personally we've felt them deeply. And the intention of those shows is to see how there's been a misconception and a view of time which is linear and doesn't allow for other ideas and multidimensionality, which is something that we try to talk a lot about in our immersions and in our website, right?
Right, and it works. That's the most profound thing about all of this, is that with the last 2 wave spells, we were working with magic and then with the energy of the seed, and now we're moving into the energy of the red magnetic Earth, which Bella's going to share more about. So with these 13-day wave spells, I can actually plan my healing process. And of course, that doesn't mean we disregard what the doctor is telling us, because he's the guy who's been in charge of this. But moving forwards and evolving into a more organic type of healing space, I can see what is coming towards me, and with the astrology start to plan that out. But first and foremost, Bella's going to talk us through what is the next wave spell and what does it mean and how can we all work with this, because I think it's really, really important ahead of what's coming up with the eclipse, right, in April.
Yeah. So we're just coming out of the actual equinox, which is the one that you can see here, the descent of Kukulkan at Chichen Itza. You can see the serpent, the game of light and shadows, which occurs for the equinox, both for the one in March and the one in September. So I wanted to show this here because it's a lot of the experience that lots of people have had in the last couple of wave spells, especially this last one, which is a lot of light and dark. We're getting to see a lot of the dark and having to walk that middle path, but recognizing both sides. So that's been really important. And the other thing that we want to achieve with this show is to show that the more that we live in the artificial Gregorian time, the more we're separated from nature. We're not connected to the cycles of the organic cycles. like I've talked before about how each articulation in our body is connected to the 1320 Solkin calendar, and also all of our fingers and toes also have a connection to one of those energies that we can. We actually talk more about that in the course coming up.
Right.
So let's go into the actual wave spell, which is called the Red Magnetic Earth. And it's starting here in number 157. Let me see if I can point with this. And here. We can see it here. So this is the actual glyph. So in this matrix, you look at the glyph, which is the red earth, and then you look at here, the number is number 1. And this is the wave spell that we are going to just about to start and finish with the moon, with the cosmic moon.
Right, and what I'm also seeing here is something we talked about in the last one, Mike Bella, which is we had a load of galactic portals, one after each other, super, super powerful, but we also have 2 more coming up in this next wave spell too. Is there anything you wish to share a bit more about that?
Well, yeah, there are 2 more. One is here on day 9, and the other one is on day 12. So 2 more days that we can achieve things, get downloads, send questions so that we can get the information, the intel that we need to move forward with whatever process. So the intention of going into a wave spell is to create something that you want to create, to start a healing process or continue a healing process, to manifest something in your life, to obtain information. But this specific one, which is connected to the earth, is more about synchronicities with the universe, or how you get the signs all the time. And that is the language of the universe, synchronicities. I'm showing here 2 different examples of the glyph, so you can start to recognize it. It's a good idea if you want to connect with your glyph, if you already know which is your archetype or your galactic signature, to draw it or to have it somewhere where you can connect with it and with the color as well. So this is the archetype of the red earth. It's called Caban in Mayan. And the keywords and qualities of these archetypes are earth force, synchronicities, as I mentioned, centeredness. So those 13 days, we want to be very much in our heart, very much in our center, try to ground as much as we can. We can talk about different tools for grounding. But the other connection of this archetype is obviously with nature, with earth, and with natural healing, plants and crystals. Also with navigation. We're in a spaceship, basically. The planet is a spaceship, and we're just going across the cosmos, and we need to understand, what does that mean? We have limited resources, and we need to connect more and more with nature so that we understand that there is an interconnectedness, and it depends on us. Our future is not something that economics has always told us. The resources of the earth. The resources of the earth are the same as us. So we are actually destroying ourselves every time we think in that way.
Right, true. We are of the earth. And I think that that's a big part of this process, is that we are remembering that we are part of the natural cycle, that we are not somehow separate from each other, from nature, from Mother Earth, our home.
Mm-hmm. And this wave spell, if I give the example that is personal to us, is Davyd has gone through all the wave spell of the yellow seed. The seed was to go through a good surgery and come out on the other side with some success around all of these. And now this new wave spell, we're going to go into the healing part, which includes plants, bringing back everything that we've been talking about for a long time. So now we can start the process of regeneration of the bone, regeneration of the tissue. So it's a new process of healing, but more connected to the earth. Now we can go into that. When we talk about the earth, there is also a shadow aspect to look at, and it's everything that has to do with not being in the present moment, feeling stuck in the past, or being all the time worried about the past or anxious about the future. So every time we're in the past or in the future, we are working in that shadow grid. The other part of the shadow transformation here, the shadow work we need to do, is when we jump into conclusions and get dragged into situations. We need to be able to be centered and have discernment. Also, if you don't feel connected to the earth existence, or if you're not able to see the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is we're part of the universe, we're part of the galaxy, and there's a much bigger plan. And we always need to try to go to that eagle's perch, as you call it.
The 5D.
And finally, the transformation that we can, of this shadow for the next 13 days, it has to do with obviously being in the now, be able to be the observer, to ground regularly. We're going to talk about some plans for grounding at the end. To remember that you're here because you chose this experience, as tough as it can be, and we can talk about that for the last experiences, we chose to be here and now during this important shift. Also, follow the synchronicities, because when you send the question, the universe is going to send you the book, the song, the person. But if you're not paying attention, then all of this information is just going to go over your head. And that's it. My recommendation is be aligned with your heart, with your center, with the earth and the center of the galaxy. Remember, that is the bigger picture we're part of. This is the wave spell. Here we start with the red earth. And what you can do to follow this wave spell is ask yourself questions every day. First of all, for this day, for the 26th of March, identify the purpose of what you want to do over this wave spell, which is also called trecena in Spanish. It just means 13 days. So you want to say, what is your intention? Do you want to heal? Do you need to connect more to the earth? Do you have a plan? Do you have something you want to create at this moment? Do you need to get the downloads for something that you're trying to achieve? And then as you identify the purpose, then you identify the challenge, which is number 2. So I give you here the different steps for 13 days. And these are the questions, reflected questions for each day.
And they're always the same, right, Bella?
They're always the same.
Yeah.
They're always the same steps and the same questions. What changes is the glyph. So the emphasis. But because the first glyph of the wave spell is the one that carries the energy for the whole wave, so there is where you need to be aware of what is happening. And then how does it connect with what you want to achieve?
Right.
So for you specifically, it'll be very much about bringing the healing with plants again into your life and your recovery.
Right. I mean, sometimes when we're talking about these things, at least I find it this way, it's easy to talk from personal and direct experience because it somehow lends gravitas. But also, you didn't, perhaps you can just go back there. You didn't mention the quote here from Aquarius, which I think is wonderful. Perhaps you want to share that.
Yeah, I love it. Who owns your time owns your mind. Own your own time and you will know your own mind. It's the objective of not only this show, but also the course that we're putting together, the Mayan course. It's about how it's an external Gregorian and irregular calendar that is creating our reality. Our minds are connected to those times. And if they are irregular, if they don't make sense, if they're incoherent, is what we're seeing in the world, incoherence and disconnection from nature.
Yeah, and just maybe as an overall view on that, I know that you're going to go into this more in the course, but certainly from my own perspective, since I've started working with the Mayan time, what I've understood is that we have got another sense of separation through these other calendars. And we see things as like Monday to Friday as the working week, and the weekend is the thing that we all look forward to because it's not the working week. And it creates these separations, and it creates a sense of one moment to the next somehow being separated. And really and truly, there is only one thing, and that is now. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's a little bit of a head-bending thought, but it's actually really, really true. And the more that we start to see everything as being now, the more we see how it's all part of the same thing, and it isn't separated, and it isn't the weekend and the week, or you and me, or us and nature, or any of these things. It's all going on all at once. And
it's the way that system has been designed. You live for Fridays and the weekends and the holidays, and every Monday you hate it. But it's because of the system and the way it's been designed.
Right, and there are many other aspects to that too, about the freedom which we are all going to experience as this process unfolds, and many other interesting things. But as always, my part of this show is to bring into our awareness some of the astrology. And what's interesting when I was looking at this one is really and truly there aren't too many major conjunctions happening. But I do just want to alert people to something that's just actually come to my awareness, is that the previous wave spell was finishing on the full moon lunar eclipse.
Oh, yeah.
And the one after this, which is the energy of the white magnetic dog, is starting with the total solar eclipse. So this particular wave spell is being bookended by the eclipses. So read into that what you will, but I just wanted to alert that to you because it just dropped into my awareness as we were doing this. But as we were putting this together, I wanted to do a bit more of a sideways dive into other astrology. And as always, Bella gives me keywords to look for with the wave spell. And one of the ones that came up is the rainbow and the rainbow energy. And so the planetary aspect that I see or perceive most linked to the rainbow is asteroid number 7, Iris, the messenger of the gods, arbitrator of the truth. And weirdly, or not so weirdly, because this is how things work at a quantum level, the beginning of this wave spell, Iris is conjunct Pluto at 1 degree and 47 minutes of Aquarius. So we can see this here. This is local time to us in Mexico. So it's Patscro. It's coming in at just after midday. And maybe some of you are scratching your head and thinking, okay, Farrell's lost at this time. What's he going on about now? Where's all this come from? Well, once we start to factor in some of the details about Iris, we start to get an idea. And maybe we can just go back and bring up the other slide with the keywords. It's a little easier for people to follow. So really and truly, on many levels, Iris is about expression of arts and creativity. But what caught my eye more, perhaps being Scorpio, was the link between the gods and the underworld. And really and truly, Iris works often with Juno in the courts of the gods, and her job was to go to the river Styx, which is really the liminal space between the realm of the mortals and the gods, we can say. But also, the rainbow is linked to the Rainbow Bridge, and the Rainbow Bridge is part of the Norse tradition that connects Yggdrasil at the bottom from the Well of Erd, or we can often say the womb space, or the place where the three Norns, the three witches of fate, past, present, and future, all in the one space. And that rainbow bridge, when traversed, will take us up to the higher realms of fifth dimensional consciousness. So in many ways, I think that Iris is the messenger of the gods, the messenger of our higher self, showing us the way to traverse this realm, and particularly the more tricky aspects of the emotional fourth dimensional astrological space. But what I found really interesting about Iris is that she brings back this jug of water from the river Styx, and at the court of the gods where her boss Juno is arbitrating, she would give this water to the gods, and if they were lying under oath, the gods would fall asleep. Now, we can say in some ways at this time that we are watching the world of the gods and the demigods, the beings that have held sway over our planet for many thousands of years, coming very closely under scrutiny, under the spotlight, and how we perceive those beings maybe as establishment, as government, as monarchy. We don't have to look too far to see that they are crumbling and collapsing, and perhaps they are being forced now to go through their own arbitration processes in the courts, whether they rescind their sins, they capitulate, or whether they hold out. And this is where I believe Iris is assisting us in this process. But she is also the marriage of water and air. And really, she shows up liars through the element of water. Sometimes this is linked to alcohol or even crocodile tears. But where she shows up in your chart is a place where if you lie, your assets will become frozen. So you want to look to see where Iris is in your natal birth chart according to which house. Very easy. Use our good friends charts over at astro.com, asteroid number 7, and you can find where Iris is going to show up for you. But what also was interesting for me was I looked at the Sabian symbol of 1 to 2 degrees of Aquarius, and it is an unexpected thunderstorm. And then I thought, wow, isn't that interesting? So she's at this degree of Aquarius conjuncting Pluto, who, by the way, is the lord of the underworld. He is the god of transformation. He is the god who sits and presides over these, we can say, denizens of the deep and the nasty.
Aquarius,
starting a new era. So what is this all about? Well, if I had to sum it up, I would say it's a moment where all sins, all lies under oath are going to come very much into the awareness, whether it's for the powers that be and the power that they have held over us, and maybe the dissolution of that power or the putting to sleep. We can view that in different ways. Or maybe it's us personally. And on a more personal note, linking to the wave spells that we've been going through, I found to my surprise that my natal Iris was at 2 degrees 57 of Aquarius. So I'm actually going through an Iris return, which may in some ways explain some of what has happened for me. So anyway, more food for me to ponder, but we can start to see how does this play out in our own existence. And there are many other interesting things going on at this time, but here is the chart for the beginning of this wave spell with Iris conjuncting Pluto. Please do feel free to pause that and print it off, and you can perhaps look at what is going elsewhere.
And there is still a conjunction of the North Node and Chiron, which is very intense as well.
Yeah, how would you understand that, Billy? You want to share something about that?
Well, we mentioned some of these in the last wave spell, and it's everything that has to do with letting go of our karmic debts so that we can move forward as wounded healers. We need to heal everything that is still outstanding so we can create a new future and a new reality moving forward.
Right, and actually now that I'm looking at this chart, I'm also seeing that Mercury is conjuncting Eris in Aries. So a lot of this energy that we are going through, we are still very much in the energy of Mercury conjuncting the Chiron North Node. Mercury is going to be bouncing backwards and forwards really throughout most of the next couple of months. So this process of going deep into our core wounds so that we can move forwards collectively to the with the North Node to the future. And of course is opposing actually the moon here on the south node. Also to me describes very much the process of Pluto and Iris, which is like the revelations of the abuse of power, particularly by the gods or power establishments, maybe people who've set themselves up as gods or people above us, and allowing us to heal from that past that we've all been somewhat subjugated to, and saying, hey, not only is it their job, everyone has to go through the same process, but where am I showing up for myself with my healing process?
You know, it makes a lot of sense because Pluto's come to Aquarius to reconstruct everything,
right,
so that we can create, as we say, from the ground up in a circular way, in a community way. And Iris, I think, is making sure that it's done ethically. You know, if you're not doing things in an ethical way, then it's going to come to your
yeah, I mean,
awareness.
really and truly, we should all be in our integrity and authenticity at all times. But of course, I think probably most of us have told a few little white lies or worse along the way. And have we done the work on that? Have we looked back into our shadow, explained to ourselves, released all of that, why we did those, maybe childhood traumas, maybe inherited attitudes? And for sure, I would not like to be some of those powerful beings who are going through that process right now, because they have a lot to rescind, but that's for them to work out. The other major thing that is coming up is this one, which is Venus conjuncting Neptune, which is happening on the 3rd of April. And do you have a comment about this, Bella? I know you're very connected to Venus.
Well, it just looks like it's a new set of relationships and a new way of spirituality. I think that relationships from now moving forward have to come from that 5D connection, from a point of being more mature and for something that is going to be good for everybody, not just out of programs of codependency or programs of anything that has had you stuck for a long time. Now is the moment to look at relationships from a more spiritual point of view.
Yeah, and of course it's in the latter degrees of Pisces, and very much about illusion, and Neptune can really bring that into the forefront. And so I think that we're being asked to strip away any delusions or illusions maybe we have about relationships, particularly at the interpersonal level. But we can also see there are some other interesting placements. There is a sextile here to Sedna, and there's also a slightly out of sign square to Chaos and Vesta. So the astrologers amongst you might want to pick that one apart. There are also some other interesting conjunctions going on with some of the minor planets, including Quawa and Pholus, all probably worthy of their own shows. And of course, the moon is just passing over Pluto at this time too, and Iris is already on her way, having passed her judgment with the Lord of the Underworld, and moving on through Aquarius. So these are really the two major aspects that caught my eye. Many other astrologers have talked about the Venus conjunct Neptune, but the Iris one is something a little bit new.
Yeah, I also want to point at that conjunction of here, Jupiter and Uranus. They're getting closer to conjunction, and I think that is a bit of an expansion of instability for the next few weeks, maybe months. I think there could be some, maybe being prepared is a good idea with food and basic things, because it feels like there could be a bit of disruption for quite a while, I think.
Yeah, and it's not really the realms of this show because we'll cover it in the next show, but the solar eclipse on April the 8th at 19 degrees of Aries with a Chiron Cazimi is going to be, I think, pretty powerful, and for sure the authorities in the US are already preparing for disruption there. So I think being smart is to be prepared.
Yeah, we're in the build up for the eclipse of the 8th of April. We'll talk about it later. But there is also the retrograde of Mercury. Mercury's retro in Aries.
Yeah, so that's the other thing that's going to come up. Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking through my notes here. I didn't want to pull up a chart for that one, but Mercury goes retrograde on day 7 of this wave spell, which is the day of vision or attunement with the glyph of the night. And Mercury is going retrograde until April the 25th. And so it's going to be bouncing backwards and forwards, making sure that we're doing this process of healing with Chiron to ensure that we can progress to the North Node, the future. So as we often say, right, Bella, there's sort of a hashtag forced evolution, and it can be a little painful, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't step up and do the work. And it's difficult to comprehend what does that mean sometimes, but I think as long as we show up with trust and integrity and we surrender to the process and we trust to the higher forces, most of all our higher self, and this is something I love about Aquarius' work, he really starts to put the concept of higher self into our future self, which for me is intuition. And this is something we're going to talk about increasingly more and more, is trusting your intuition, is to trust that aspect of yourself that is seemingly from the future and maybe knows a bit more about what's coming, because in truth we always have all of the answers. Dandelion has taught us that many times. So hints and tips for the future. And
how about we talk about the plant?
Right. Well, we bounced around a little while on the plant there. Normally it's super clear straight off the bat, but this one required us to sit for a little bit longer. We ended up coming up with 2 plants for a variety of reasons. The first one that was more clear was tobacco, a plant that I know very, very well, have worked with for a long time. And perhaps you just want to talk about how this relates to the wave spell?
So it relates a lot, because tobacco is one of the best plants for grounding, and is very connected to the earth. So the way that it's been used in the Americas, and from everything that I've learned from like Colombia and Mexico and everywhere, not only is it very good for smudging, but for protection, for offerings. So as a way to use it for protection, you could put a little bit of tobacco. Try to use organic tobacco if you can get it, and put it in your belly button. You can put it in a pouch. You can put it under your pillow, and you can take it wrapped in a little bit of fabric and hang it on a tree if you want to do an offering as well. So there are many ways to work with tobacco. They also work to expel some of the negative energies with the cigars. So that's
so I mean, what we're not suggesting is to nip down to your corner shop and buy a packet of 20 Benson and Hedges or whatever your preferred cigarette of the past may be. That's not the idea. However, some of you out there watching the show may well have worked with tobacco, and I'm just going to share a number of those methodologies. Sometimes it can be in ceremonial form, working as with the Amazonian picture here through the snuff pipe, the hape or the rape. And that is actually, for me, one of the best ways to ground in center and to dispel negative energies. You can also drink tobacco as a tea. It's not very pleasant. You probably most likely will be sick.
We don't recommend that.
We don't recommend it, but if it's in your awareness and a ceremony is being offered and you feel like you need to purge, tobacco for me is the purging plant, as well as grounding and centering. And we also have a beautiful picture here of white buffalo calf woman offering the pipe of tobacco, which of course is part of the native or First Nations traditions of North America. And then of course we have this beautiful picture of tobacco growing, which is an interesting thought, and this kind of relates to some of the inversions of our world. Now in the Western culture, it's perceived as a killer. It gives you cancer apparently, and yet in the Americas, from the tip of North America to the toe of South America, it's considered to be the master healing plant. So how can it be both? That's kind of weird, right? Anyway, food
and it is a strong plant. Maybe it's hard for you to work with tobacco to start with, but for now you could just invite the spirit of tobacco into your life for grounding. So because it is part of this quantum world that we work with, it will come to you as an ally as well.
Exactly. So at that quantum level, you can also maybe find a wild tobacco plant. We're here in Mexico, it grows everywhere. We have several varieties. You can make an essence from it. That's one way. But most of all, any of you who've been listening to our shows for a while or working on our emotions will know that with simple invitation, you can invite the spirit of tobacco into your awareness for whatever it is that tobacco needs to offer you. It could be grounding, could be purging. So if you do start to do that and you start to be sick, well, then great, you're getting something out. Maybe you even have to expel the lower pathways. Maybe you need to release. It's all good. Purging is always good. It means you're getting something out. And the great thing about this is it relates to the wave spell. Why? Because Mother Earth is the best composter of our stuff. So we can give it back to the earth. We can say thank you very much to the spirit of tobacco, however we decide to work with it. You may also want to reach out to some of your local plant and seed suppliers and purchase a little tobacco plant to have in your house, maybe even in your room, or maybe you want to get some seeds and grow it yourself. Many different ways to work with plants like tobacco. We really leave it up to you to invite the spirit in.
And the second plant that wanted to be part of this is cacao.
One of our favorites.
One of our favorites. We did an immersion called The Quest for the Quantum Heart, right? Yeah. And cacao was part of it. So we went around Mexico and even Colombia looking for the best cacao ceremony, cacao connection. And we did find somebody for a cacao ceremony, which was really beautiful. But anyway, so once you've grounded with the tobacco, then you invite cacao into your life. Again, try to get organic cacao, the least amount of sugar possible. You can drink it. There are so many things you can do with cacao, but more than anything, you want to invite it to open your heart, to be more in your heart, especially during these very difficult times.
Right, and in many ways, there's some similarities between tobacco and cacao. They're not immediately obvious. And again, in the same humorous way we refer to not going to the shop and getting a box of cigarettes, you probably don't want to go and get a packet of Nestle chocolate or something like that, or Kit Kat. Sorry, but you know, those kinds of brands that perhaps are not fully with the spirit of the plant. And so we can work with this beautiful, in fact, maybe you want to share something about the beans. That was something we learned really beautifully, right? To chew on the beans in the morning.
To chew on the beans and to have an intention. And so you can chew on the bean and say, and ask the spirit of cacao to not only clear and help you get into your heart, but also to give you the solutions to whatever you need. So it goes through all of your senses and it brings a loving solution. And
does, and both of these plants are connected in the Mayan tradition, right, through the goddess Eggshell. Is that correct?
Well, cacao was even more valuable than gold for the Mayans. Right. So they exchanged cacao, they exchanged jade and some other crystals, obsidian. Gold wasn't as valuable as cacao for them. So imagine how powerful it is.
Right. And, you know, like we said before, maybe if you're blessed enough to be in the vicinity of people that offer tobacco ceremonies or cacao ceremonies, maybe this is the opportunity to open yourself up to these really beautiful spirits and these wonderful medicines in the most authentic and heart-centered ways. So we offer both of these, perhaps not the easiest medicines to find in these kinds of forms, but again, invite the spirit in. The spirit of cacao is really beautiful, and who doesn't love a really good hot chocolate, particularly after a difficult day. With some of the energies at work like that.
So over this wave spell, just invite cacao to open your heart and connect with the heart or the center of the planet. That is the wave spell of the red magnetic earth. And finally, the Mayan course is finally here. I'm recording at the moment. We're recording at the moment. And it will come out on the 26th, but we have a coupon code for people that want to buy it before. It's QC10, and it's only valid until the 28th of March.
Yeah, so that's really for all of you wonderful people who watch this show, that you can use that. So QC10, Quantum Compass 10 really is what it means. And these are the 6 different modules. I've been blessed enough to be involved in the process of Bella putting this together, and it's mind-blowing. It's a complete reconfiguration of our reality, actually. And this is something that's been very dear to both of us for a while, and now we think it's the time. And certainly Bella is very much in this lineage and how to share this. So it covers many really far out concepts, but actually is very much of this moment and of this now.
And we've had quite a few people asking if it was going to be pre-recorded, if they could attend the classes. It is a pre-recorded course. It's going to be online. You can buy it anytime, but it's going to go live on the 26th of March. And then we release the next modules over the next few weeks.
And there will be some supporting live calls around the course, which we will release the dates of well ahead of time. Normally we do it once we're a couple of modules in and people have got some questions and various things to discuss. So really, really exciting stuff. Looks beautiful, and the material that is being channeled by Bella is really, really something that I think we can all work with at this time. So looking forward to that.
Yes, so I'll just mention the modules. We'll go over the history of time and ancient calendars, the Mayan calendars, because there are many, especially 3 that we work with. We'll also go into the galactic influences and how there was a much wider connection to the galaxy. We'll learn about the archetypes, the soul kin, your galactic signature, how to work with the wave spells, all that.
Yeah, exciting stuff. So that's it, really, I think, for this episode of the Quantum Compass. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We hope that you get value from this, and also these are kind of jump-off points. There's so much more to always look at with the astrology, but always we recommend that you pull up your own natal charts and see where some of these interesting things are happening for you. And it's always about the coherency. And when we were looking at this show, Iris presented herself very much in coherence with the wave spell, the same way the plants present themselves with the wave spell. And we're just trying to create a tableau and gestalt somehow that allows us as much as anybody else to make sense of what's going on. But also hopefully you too. So that's it for today, Bella.
Yeah, thank you for watching, and thank you for the support we've received from all of you. It's been amazing to see the ripple effect of the situation with Davyd, how many hearts it touched, how many people have sent emails, donations, healing, you name it. It's been incredible. So thank you again.
And actually, just sorry, there's one final thought thinking about Gregorian calendars. Again, it's a slightly strange one, but it of course is Easter weekend during this wave spell. So the energy of death and rebirth is very, very strongly with us. And of course, our good old friend Pluto is the master at showing us how to reinvent ourselves. And for sure, for me personally, a big reinvention is happening on a day-to-day basis. So we don't necessarily have to go through something like this to have that happen. But if you feel that you want your world to change, you have to start here with yourself. And I think that all of the tools, all of the moments, everything that we can possibly work with is here for us.
But this time we're bringing the rainbow.
Yes.
Right.
Always. Well, we're rainbow warriors. So we'll be ending on that note. Keep it rainbow, everybody, and think about how you want to transcend this moment so that you too can be everything that you already are, but in your fullest expression. So with that, we bid you farewell for this wave spell. We hope to see you all again very soon, and blessed be.